So hello and welcome back to the Champ.ie Podcast, previewing the second half of the week at Punchestown. We're covering day 3, 4 and 5. So that's Thursday, Friday and Saturday of the Punchestown Festival. I'd like to welcome back to the podcast Mr. Ronan Groome of the Irish Field.
How are you, Barry? Yeah, good to be back.
And Mr. Thomas Coyle as well, regular on the podcast. Thomas, good evening.
How are you, Barry? You well?
I'm not too bad. So we also have a very special guest on the podcast tonight, multiple champion amateur Patrick Mullins. He's going to give us an insight into the Mullins runners on the Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And I caught up with Patrick on a Skype call earlier on, and we're going to have a listen, lads, to what Patrick had to say about the Mullins runners. So we're joined by Patrick Mullins, who needs no introduction. Delighted to have you feature Patrick on the Champ.ie podcast, previewing Punchestown. And looking ahead to the second half of the week. Good evening, Patrick.
Good to be on. Thanks very much.
And thanks very much for your time. It's a busy time for yourself. We'll come on to the Thursday first, Patrick. The Ryanair Novice Chase, Grade 1, over 2 miles. It looks a hot renewal this year, Patrick, with Defi DeSol coming over from England to take on Duke de Geneva, who is an impressive 13-length winner of the Arkle. How impressed were you with him on the day? And I suppose, how's he been since Cheltenham?
Yeah, sure. Look, he was gobsmacking in Cheltenham. We couldn't have dreamt that he would have put in a performance like that. So you have to wonder. I suppose he has to go and back it up now. But even his run before Cheltenham, when he was in Goran over 2.5 miles, he won emphatically, and we were wondering perhaps had the others let him away. But he just seems to be improving all the time, and a real strong gallop probably suits him best. And he should get that here with the likes of Moon over Germany and RNU in it. So he's going to have to go and do it again just to really prove that it wasn't a fluke. But he's come out of Cheltenham 100%, and he's a very exciting horse.
Yeah, in a division next year, Patrick, with Altior maybe stepping up in trip, it's exciting to have those 2-mile chasers coming out in novice ranks. Another word also for the exciting winner at Naas as well, maybe Shakon Pursa. You look to be double-handed in here.
Yeah, Shaq, he's been very hard to keep sound. He's a 7-year-old. We've had him, might have had him 3 years at this stage, I'd say. And Dermot Keating, who rides him out every day, does a great job keeping him in one piece this year. Again, he kind of put in a performance, he won by over 30 lengths, and he just galloped him into the ground. So it's a big step up, and only his second run over fences. The experience is going to be the concern. He's definitely a horse with a huge amount of ability, and he's one we're really looking forward to next year. I mean, it's a hot race. Defi DeSol is coming over. I'm not so sure about him dropping back down in trip. He looks like he wants to go up in trip to me, but it'll be very interesting to see how he gets on.
Yeah, 2 Cheltenham winners taking each other on, as I said, a very hot renewal. Just coming on to the Friday, Patrick, of the Punchestown Festival. On the Friday 2017 was a memorable day for yourself. You rode the Grade 1 double, which included Wicklow Brave in the Punchestown Champion Hurdle. He's in again on Friday with Mellon and Benny de Dieu. Well represented.
Yes, it's fantastic. Bouvardère is coming over, a bit of added competition. He's going to be a formidable opponent. Benny de Dieu is there, but she'll also have the option of the Mayor's Hurdle later on the Saturday. Mellon, he's just not a prolific winner. He's a top horse. He's been second in 2 champion hurdles, but he doesn't seem to get his head in front too often. And I think I'd be hoping he might go over fence next year. He's a big chasing type, and I think he might be at his best there. And Wicklow Brave is in it as well. He also has the option of the 3-mile hurdle on the Thursday, and I think he's getting on now. He's 10 years old, and he might just lack a gear for the 2-mile hurdle. He's perfectly fine after his fall the other day. Schooled him the next day. He wasn't the bother on him. So I think we could be up against it here. I think Bouvardère and Super Sunday will be the 2 to beat probably.
Brilliant. And I suppose regarding your own book of rides, Patrick, for Thursday and Friday, the big getaway looked a nice type when finishing second in a bumper at Navan. Which horse are you most looking forward to riding, I suppose, in the bumpers?
Yeah, the big getaway is a horse I love. I should have won him in Navan. I went out probably thinking I can't get beaten him, and I probably was just too confident on him, and I ended up stuck in a pocket in a slow run race. And I was still a bit disappointed that he didn't win, but he did have an excuse. So I think we'll just ride him a bit simpler the next day, probably good and handy and wide. He's a very big horse. He's one of the biggest horses in the yard, and whatever he does as a bumper horse, he'd be twice the horse when he goes over fences. But he works very well. Whether he'll run in the winner's bumper on the Thursday, it'd be unusual for Wooly to do that. But like I said, I thought he should have won on the last day, and we've an armada of bumper horses for the Friday, Saturday races, so we might let him take his chance against the winners on Thursday. And there's a couple of real nice horses like Monkfish, who's a big stowaway horseman, a point, Richie owns him. A1 is a big coastal part horse. He missed last season with an injury, but a fine big chasing. They're two big chasing types. And Tactical Move is out of a sister to Denman, and he was second in this point again. Fine big chasing horse. So there are three horses I'm really looking forward to riding. There's only 2 bumpers for them, so they won't all get to run this week. But whichever of them do, I'll be very much looking forward to them. Now they're not real bumper types. They're chasers in the making. The 2-2 bumper on a Friday would suit all of them ideally, but we'll probably only own one of them. But they're definitely horses for the future.
The exciting types there, definitely for you to look forward to. And just quickly on the handicaps for the week, is there any runner that you're looking forward to in particular, for maybe one you want to mention for our Champ.ie listeners?
Yeah, the handicaps. Yeah, a couple of tricky races there. I suppose the one that was eye-catching, I thought, was Ask Susan. She ran within a 2-mile handicap hurdle there in Fairy House. Yeah. And it just looked like it was too short for her. We took our chance because she only had 9-10 and it was a 100 grand race. So we took our chance, but she wants further really. And she's entered in the mares only 2-mile 5 handicap chase on the Friday, which if you could probably write a race for her, that's the kind of race you'd write for her. So the worry is that she's coming back quite quick. Particularly, you can probably do that in the middle of a season when horse have had a few runs. It's a hard thing to do from your first run to your second run. But with the prize money on offer, we might take a chance, and I would be disappointed if she's not better than her handicap mark.
Yeah, I believe Danny Mullins got down to a pretty low weight to ride her at Fairy House, and yeah, thanks for that. And just it's been another successful season, Patrick, for the team. Over 200 winners in Ireland once again, and I suppose you'll be looking forward to the holidays. Have you anything nice planned for the summer, for the downtime?
Well, I mean, the season ends on Saturday, and I think we're racing 6 days the next week. So I think May is actually the busiest month of the year. It's a funny old season we have. It goes straight into overdrive after it finishes. But we get 10-day break in June, at the end of June, and there's a few of us going, including Danny actually, and we're going. And Brian Hayes, Mitchell Blackmore, and we're going on a riding safari in South Africa. So that'll be cool, something different, just to see some of the big five before they might disappear.
Be the Laura Bagnall on tour.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Patrick, it was a pleasure talking to you, and thanks a million for your time, because I know it's busy leading up to the Punchestown Festival, and great to have you on, and very best of luck for the week.
No problem at all, Barry. Thanks very much.
So I'd like to thank Patrick Mullins very much for his time earlier on, and the very best of luck for the second half of the week. And I hope he enjoys his holiday as well over the summer himself and the lads heading off to South Africa, of course. So we'll move on. We're going to start on the Thursday, lads. The Ryanair Novice Chase, a race that's won by Willie Mullins for the last 4 years in a row. He's going for 5 this year, and one last year by Footpad. Duke Ginevra, we heard Patrick speaking, has been in good form since his 13 Lent win of the Arc, which was on soft ground. The conditions might be coming right for him, lads, but Willie also has Shack and Poursois. Would you be fearful of Deafy de Sol coming over, Ron?
Yeah, I would be, because I was very impressed with him at Cheltenham, and I've been impressed with him all season. This is a cracking race. I know they'll brand, obviously, the Stayers race as the feature race, but this is the race you're paying money in to see if you're going to Punchestown on Thursday. You're looking at 4 separate Grade 1 winners there, 2 Cheltenham Festival winners, and then you have Chacun Poursois and Us and Them, who's danced every dance this year. It's interesting, Ruby's on Chacun Poursois, isn't it? And the Townend's on Duke de Ginevra.
Is there a bit of a sort of a budding partnership there between Paul Townend and the Sullivans?
It's been kind of like that this season. I mean, Ruby said at the start of the season he wasn't going to kind of stand in Paul Townend's way of going for the title when he couldn't win it, which I guess makes sense. And I wouldn't read too much into it. If you know what I mean. Like, obviously, Townend's on. As I said, it's not like a case where Ruby is riding that, so that's first preference. I don't think it's as simple as that, I suppose getting on to it, you asked me about Defi de Style. Yeah, I was slightly worried about him coming down to 2 miles. He's a triumph hurdle winner who triumph hurdle horses tend to want to go up in trip. Duke de Geneva, obviously the one to beat, really good at Cheltenham and has a kind of progressive profile to keep going again. But I think he was around 8-1. I saw him at Voiderev. I wouldn't put anyone off that.
Fair enough. Voiderev. Thomas, I suppose the one that interests me the most here is Chacun Pour Soi. Patrick did mention that he's been hard to keep sound at home, and I suppose only really getting to see him on the racetrack this season. I thought, like, would it be a worry for you now coming in here, and just from a trainer's perspective, only one run straight into a Grade 1, 6-1. It'll be interesting to see if there's money for him, but would that be a worry for you?
It would, yeah. Like he's won his beginners around Naas. Now he was very impressive, but he didn't really beat too much now that day, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I know he won by 31 lengths, but we had a horse from Eddie's that finished 5th that day. He's only rated 100 or 102, like, and 3rd, 4th, 5th finish in a bunch that day. Look, he couldn't have been any more impressive, but it's going to be a different kettle of fish with these boys. Duke de Geneva, Arkle winner, was so impressive. Picked it up maybe 3 out, kicked on and won by 13 lengths. Defi de Soil, we've been looking at this horse a lot. We had a match with Lost in Translation that we talked a lot about.
Yeah.
Lost in Translation went up and trip again in Aintree and won. Defi de Soil, I think Ronan's right. He's probably the best novice at 2.5 mile. I couldn't see too many horses beating him at that trip, but stepping back down, okay, he'll be ridden. He probably won't be ridden as patiently as he does be over that further trip. He usually pounces late, but I think Willie's horse, Paul, on it, he's got the form. If he reproduces that Arkle run, he's going to be very hard to beat in this.
Yeah, the pace angle again in this race is very interesting. No shortage of pace with Arnua and the likes. Just very quickly, Ronan, on the division, the 2 mile division next year as a whole. Altior stepping up and trip. Any of these potentially Queen Mother champion chase bound?
I mean, I think they all are. They're all. It's a decent crop, isn't it? I suppose Defi they were toying with the idea of going for the 3 mile race on Tuesday, so maybe that's the direction they might be thinking with him. But Duke de Geneva will be in that sort of vein, I suppose. And yeah, obviously with Altior coming out of division, it's going to create a massive vacuum, I'd say. So you could get a few of the classier hurdlers going 2 miles and that sort of thing as well, and maybe a few trainers tempted to stay at the distance instead of, because obviously Altior going up and trip, that means you face him there as well. So yeah.
Okay. So final selections for this one, Ronan.
Yeah, I'll chance Voiderev. Unfortunately, only 7 runners, so we can't get to each ways. But I've always been a fan of the horse, and he's a course and distance winner.
Thomas.
Duke de Geneva for me. If he's in the same health, I can see him coming home again on his own in this.
Take the chance on Chacun Pour Soi. Not a very confident selection, but I think he could be exciting. Okay, City Island, just coming on to the next race, the champion now at 2.5 miles. City Island was one of Desi Scal's best bets of the week, and we heard from Desi on day 1 and day 2. Thomas, you love this horse going into Cheltenham. You were down on Martin Brazel's beforehand, and you tipped him up on the podcast, and you were singing about him. How good is he, and where do you think he'll line up next year if he does go on if he does step forward from his Cheltenham?
Well, look, he looks like a big chaser in the making anyway. He's probably going to be like sure, we'll have to go for the Novice, like the race that Defi de Soil won this year in Cheltenham. That'd be the obvious.
GLT.
Yeah, that'd be the obvious step from here, because he won in 2.5 mile. This is 2.5 mile.
Was there talk of stairs hurdle? I thought. Oh, yeah.
He quite possibly be, but he, like, to me, he's a fine big horse. He looks like a big chaser in the making. He was
You saw him in the flesh, did you?
Oh yeah, he's a lovely horse. And he's as placid and he takes his race, and then he's an all round just good horse, and I'd say he's a pleasure to do anything with. Look, this race, it's hard to know. There's still nearly 30 entries. Okay, we can put a line through a few of them, like Classical Dream and that.
Just a bet with Bet Excess at the moment, 5-4 City Island.
Yeah.
Reserve Tank is an interesting one, and one I'll come to ask Ronan. Did he speak to Colin Tizard about in a moment? Sam's Profile is in here at 7-1 as well, so it is. I think it's a deep enough race, to be honest.
Yeah, Sam's Profile has a bit to find on Cheltenham form. Like you couldn't really see him turning around that form on that day. Like he had every chance. No, like as I said, Martin is an absolute gent, and I'd love him. I'd love to see the horse go unbeaten again this season. So he'd be my selection. It's just kind of hard to know. There'll probably only be there might even be 10 runners in this race, but look, he's got the form in the book. He has to. It'd be a nice way to sign off a year for him, and I'd be glad to see him cross the line in front.
Brilliant. Thoughts on this? Did you speak to Colin Tizard about Reserve Tank, Ronan?
Briefly, yeah. He was very respectful of City Island, but I think they have a coming horse, like an improving horse. Obviously, kind of surprised him a bit at Aintree. He will have to improve to beat City Island. I love the way City Island. I was reading a piece with Martin Brazel, I think, in the Sunday Independent there, and he was just kind of saying how he campaigned the horse, like he didn't want to run him against in the big races, just to kind of fill him up with confidence and stuff. I just think that's really classy kind of training, real confidence in his own horse, and obviously delivered on the day and kind of proved him right. It's hard to take him on. I think he's 6-4 now. I think he'd be that sort of price on the day. Thomas mentioned Sam's Profile there. I was a big fan of him pre-Cheltenham. I didn't think he had much to find with Battle Over Diane. He just knuckled the hurdle coming down the hill, and he kind of lost about 2-3 lengths. And he did okay from there, but he does have a lot of ground to find now with City Island, and it's hard really to make a case for any other horse in the race, I guess, without clear declaration. So yeah, I as I said, I like City Island. I like the way he's trained, and I hope he finishes the season out with a win here.
Okay. Yeah, so coming on now, lads, to the AES Champion 4-year-old Grade 1 hurdle. Fusa Raffles comes over from the UK here, lads, for Nicky Henderson. One run since France. Very impressive at Kempton, I thought, Ronan. Two of Joseph's in here against him. Would you be taking him on now, or is there anything at maybe even a bigger price? French Maid was impressive at Fairyhouse. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, look, I think he was good at Kempton, Fusa Raffles. You couldn't not be impressed with the way he did it, and obviously a real pity he missed the triumph. I see he's in 6-4 favourite. I suppose he kind of he's the unexposed horse against the likes of Fakir Duderies and Gardens of Babylon, and he kind of has to come up to that level. And then of course you have he's the kind of the fresh angle as well. Obviously Gardens of Babylon, Fakir Duderies have been running at the big festivals. I suppose at the prices, I think he was 6-4 Nicky Henderson's horse. I'd probably opt for Fakir Duderies, who obviously ran real well in the Supreme. That form was working out very nicely, and then he gave Pentland Hills a huge race at Aintree. So for me at this time, I think he was around 7-2. I go for Fakir Duderies.
Thomas, would you have a strong opinion on this?
Yeah, look, Nicky's horse was impressive that day. Joseph too are battle hardened. There's not too much between them, but just I've one other little angle is Gordon's horse in this, Surin. if you fancy Gardens of Babylon, you have to fancy this horse because they've taken on each other twice. And literally, I think there's been half a length in it both ways. One win each, different ways. Look, the Gardens of Babylon, Fakir Duderies, they've had busy enough campaigns for young horses. Gordon's horse hasn't run since he was third to Sir Eric in Leopardstown. He probably just didn't see it out that day. He just lost second on the line. Sir Eric was probably the best form line of the younger horses going into this. He was only beaten by 6 or 7 lengths that day. Fresher horse, I think he might be worth just having a look at and see. There's 8 horses in it, so you're getting paid on the first 3 each way. So if you're fancying Joseph's too, you have to put Gordon's horse in around there, and he's more than double the price in him. I think he's 12 or 14 to 1, so he'd be an each way angle for me in this race.
Okay, so an interesting selection, Thomas. Lads, so for the second half of the week, Ronan, I'll come to you first. This is where you're paid the big bucks. You're going to come on here. You're going to give us 2 big price winners, I'm hoping, for the rest of the week. Something maybe in handicaps, bumpers, obviously hard to go on. But is there anything that you have your eye on for Thursday, Friday, or Saturday?
Yeah, Barry. Yeah, I obviously no declarations yet, but I just have an eye on a couple. I'll give you one for each day, and they're all in handicaps. Don't Touch It is going to run, I'm pretty sure, in the 2 mile handicap chase on Thursday. He won that race 2 years ago, and he comes here more or less off the same mark as he won that race off. Jessica Harrington trains this for JP McManus.
Yeah.
He's not been seen for most of the season, but it wouldn't really surprise me in the slightest if they just kept him back for this, minded his mark or something like that. So I'd be interested in him for that 2 mile. That's the 4:15 on Thursday. On Friday, I like a horse called Poker Party for Henry de Bromhead. He's won his last 2, and he won a nice 2.5 mile novice handicap chase at Naas. I thought he was really impressive that day. I'm really surprised they didn't actually go and run him at Cheltenham. I think that British, if I remember rightly, the British handicapper gave him, he was more or less off the same rating he was here. He was probably one of the best Irish treated horses at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they've kept him back to go for this race because it's quite a nice race. That's the novices handicap chase on Friday. Nice horses win that, and obviously if you win that, you can probably keep going on to like a Galway hurdle or something, or a Galway plate even. So interested in him in that race. That's the 4:20 on Friday. And then on Saturday, like a horse called Manila Awards, who travels over for Harry Fry. He's going to go for either the 3 mile race or the 3 mile 7, the marathon trip. As far as I know, he's owned by that an Irishman or an Irishman's company, Masterton Holdings. You know, those kind of green and red colours.
Yeah.
And he's won at Punchestown before. He won the 3 mile handicap hurdle 2 seasons ago. Spoke to Harry Fry last week and just asked him. He hasn't been seen since November. He ran at Cheltenham, ran okay or whatever. Just asked him, what was the plan? Is he injured or whatever? And he said no. Hasn't. This is the plan to come back to Punchestown. He runs well fresh, so we just decided to leave him off for the rest of the season. Come here fresh, keep his mark. I think he's at 149 or something like that. And we'll have a go. So he's interesting, obviously a course winner, and they've trained him specifically to come back here. I think he goes for either the 3 mile handicap chase or the 3 mile 7. So I'll be keeping an eye on wherever he turns up as well.
Brilliant. Great insight there, Ronan. Let's hope we can bag a few winners. Coming on to Thomas, you must have something hidden away somewhere.
I've 2 for Thursday. The first one is in the first race, the handicap hurdle, 2 mile handicap hurdle. A horse of Tony Martin's that I've had an eye on this year. Share the Honour. Needs a few to come out. It'll be a tight enough handicap. He'll have about 10, 12 or that. He's been placed on his last 3 runs, 4th to 3rd the last day. Just at the business end of it, his jumping just lets him down. If he can get that right, I definitely think there's a big handicap on this horse and he'll be at the right side of it. He's definitely one to follow. And in the bumper, the last race, it could be a good day for Martin Brazel that day. There's a horse called You Raise Me Up. He won a bumper the last day in Galway, and he bet Dr. Duffy. And the horse that was third is Willie Mullins' horse, Golden Spread, that runs in the champion bumper tomorrow, which is solid form. Hasn't run, obviously, since then. Won his bumper on soft ground. They got plenty of rain there today. He could be very interesting, and it's a winner's bumper, so I'd say he could be a bit of a price as well, because the more fancied stables will be in it. But I definitely think he's a horse with a future. You raise me up.
Brilliant. Well, listen, let's hope we get the winners we deserve on the Champ.ie podcast. Make sure and subscribe to the link below, and like and share and spread the word about the Champ.ie podcast. Thanks very much to Mr. Ronan Groome of the Irish Field, and Ronan, we're looking forward to having you on again.
Yeah, cheers, Barry. Pleasure to be on. Yeah, great to speak to you.
As well as that, Thomas Coyle. Thanks very much for your time, Thomas.
Cheers, Barry. Thanks.
Good evening.